My name is James Anderson, and I'm going to tell you a story about a time when I was in the Navy. I enlisted in 2006 and separated in 2010. I was an aviation electronics technician. I made third class petty officer um, and was attached to Squadron VFA 103. We serviced the Super Hornets, the FA 18 Foxtrots. We were it was my first overseas deployment for Operation Enduring Freedom, which is short OEF. We were a few months into our deployment. A lot of guys were starting to lose their motivation and their reasoning for being out there. See, because we serviced the aircraft that flew over and provided air support for the troops on the ground. But because we were on the ship and never actually saw Iraq or Afghanistan, we did all this footwork but never saw the end result of that legwork that we put in. So it was one of those things where it's very one-sided, and you didn't get to actually see the influence that your work provided to the guys that were on the ground. There was one day though that did actually come through very big for us. I was assigned to the alert fighter. We called it our alert 15. What that means is we had a fighter jet that was fully armed, ready to go, and had to be off. If they called it, had to be off deck within 15 minutes. At this time, the war was beginning to taper off. It wasn't as intense as the earlier years. So having an alert jet actually launch was rare. And so being assigned to it was kind of like knowing that your day was going to drag out and that you weren't going to have a lot to do, which only meant your hours were going to last longer. I had just sent my trainee to lunch and he had returned whenever I had decided to pack my lunch and go downstairs and go ahead and eat. I had got my tray loaded up, was about ready to sit down and start eating when they came over the 1MC, which is the intercom system, and announced that my jet had to go up in the air. Well, I dropped my food immediately and I run upstairs, grabbed my gear, and got to my jet. As I was zipping up my float coat, which is the protective jacket that you wear when you're on top of a deck, I had the pilots walking up. Rather than give them the entire introductory speech that you're supposed to as a plane captain, I just told them to get in the jet. We hurried up, got them seated, got everything put in a safe position, and had them fire up the jet and go through our whole run through. We got them on the catapult in 7 minutes time. We later found out that the jet was called out because a group of Navy SEALs were pinned down. They had basically a mountainside to their back and three flanks of basically insurgents, Taliban guys, coming in from each direction. So when our jet arrived, they dropped a 500-pound bomb on both outside flanks, taking out the two exterior flanks. And then they flew down and did what's called strafing to the front flank, which is where they fly down and they come in a downward angle and zoom up, firing the bullets that are in the nose of the aircraft. Now, the bullet is called a 20 Mike. It is quite bigger than what you would imagine, and it's electrically discharged. Basically, the gun capacity in the nose of the jet can fire 1,000 rounds a minute. However, it can only hold 350. So you can imagine that this firing of the bullets only lasts for a few seconds, but does immense damage. Because the bullets are electrically discharged, they also have explosive tips so that once they hit their designated target, they blow up. This was the end result for the Taliban because the outside flanks, like I said, they were blown up and the front flank had been shot up. This saved the Navy SEAL team that was there. The pilots came back and you could just tell that they were excited. We knew something happened because where the bombs were once, there was now hanging wires. Instead of, so that meant to us that something had to have happened. Due to my rating, I had a clearance that allowed me to see the videos I captured on the FLIR pod, which is the infrared pod that you see all the black and white footage of aircraft. That's what that is. It's a FLIR pod that captures that image. The pilots came back and they were excited, told me that whenever I got the chance, I needed to come to the ready room and just check this footage out. So I safed my jet. We got it ready, prepared, refueled, got it set up for another go, and then I went down and met up with the pilots. I got to watch the video of what they did to save these men's lives, is how it was, and knowing that it was a Navy SEAL team on top of that they saved just made it that much more special. For me, that was my reinvigoration as to why I was out there. It was my rededication, it was everything, because it showed me that what I was doing did have a direct impact on the war and was serving a purpose to not only save lives but also help bring the war closer to an end. Um, I find that every job in the military does have a purpose and does serve a purpose in the long run. And for a lot of guys, if they don't see the end result of what it is they're doing, they can lose that motivation and that whole sense of meaning and reason to be out there. So for me, I did find mine whenever a mission went off perfectly well, because they had told us that had we been 1 minute slower, the pilots would have been too late. So to know that we did our job so perfectly and precise that it allowed for the pilots to get there and save them and do their mission, it just made me more dedicated to doing my own job. And that's probably my favorite story from my time in the Navy. Thank you.